It's forge time. Well guys, welcome to the forge again, and this time I wanted to make a striker for a Flint steel striker. So I've got this little bastard file. I bought it for like 25 cents at a garage sale, and I got a pocket full of them, so I figured it's time to do that. First thing I got to do is get it heated up, obviously, and went over this little gas forge I got in my last forging video. And first thing we're going to do is heat that up. And this is a harder steel, so I'm kind of beating on it pretty good with this little hammer as much as possible. Usually you don't want to do this for too long a period of time. It causes back and arm, wrist problems and whatnot. But this file steel is pretty hard, so you have a very short time of working it before it starts to cool off, as you can see here. And you don't want to work it when it gets too cool, because that can cause stress fractures, which we'll talk about here in a little while, unfortunately. So now as it goes, you just keep heating it up and keep narrowing it down. I'm doing what's called drawing this out. So basically it's obviously too tall, right? So we want to thin this down a little bit and stretch it out. So that's considered drawing it out, and as you go you got to keep turning it, otherwise you'll fold the metal over on itself and it's not good. So every once in a while you also hit it with a brush just to keep the scale off. The scale is just the impurities that come out of the metal as you're working it. So, and you'll see that on the anvil as well as it falls off. We're basically just trying to work it down to a taper here, and we'll see why here in a little bit. So here you've got some Hardy tools for your anvil, and this one is a cut-off tool. They call them Hardy tools to fit in that Hardy hole there. And basically just, this is going to be too long for what I'm doing, so I'm just going to cut that off. Instead of sitting here with a hacksaw for 20 minutes, I can just cut it off here. Got a little overzealous, you don't want to hit it too hard. Usually you just crease it and then fold it off, but I ended up going all the way through because I'm a new blacksmith. So did the trick, didn't damage my Hardy tool at all, and back in the forge we go. Once we heat it back up, it's just a matter of doing the same thing on the reverse side, just drawing that out and narrowing that down so we can come to a point to do our next step. And again, the key is just keep turning that piece and keeping it flat as you go. We're obviously already to the point where we're almost half the width of that file. Now, here's what happens when you stress fracture your file. Just work it when it's too cold, and you put it back in the forge, and it breaks off. So, not a big deal. We still got plenty of steel to work with, so we'll just take this end and taper it out and keep moving right along. Now we got to work on those tips before we get to bending too much on the striker. Just want to narrow those down and then bend those over the edge of the anvil here, and then if you do your hammer work right, we can curl that up in a little scroll. And we'll get the other side here, do the same thing with that. You got to make sure that you're paying attention what direction you send that scroll so it works in the end. That was kind of the hardest part for me in the beginning, was trying to make sure that I did that directional thing the correct way. It doesn't always go the way you want it to go, and sometimes you got to coerce it here or hit it there, and that just comes with time, getting it straightened out and exactly how you want it. And each one of these I make, whether it's a hook or an S-hook or a wall hook or this, it gets better each time. So now we're ready to bend it. We're going to quench the very tip of it so we don't ruin that little scroll that we just made. And I'm going to put in a little tool here I made for the hardy hole, just a little jig to be able to bend that around. Now, it helps to think ahead, and I wasn't thinking about where the camera was at, so when I go to bend this around, I'm kind of coming around with the camera. I don't get it bent completely, but the key here is not to panic because you'll end up ruining your steel. Just pick it up out of there and give it another heat, try it again. Back, I can flip that back over the other direction and get the bend in that I need. You notice it didn't go in there flat, but that's okay. I can fix that with a hammer on the horn. And you can see here, it looks like part of an S hook or part of a wall hook, and that's why one of the reasons why I like doing these is because it's the same kind of style. Then we go on to the other side here, same thing. Of course, I didn't learn my lesson the first time. I go right back towards the camera, but as soon as I realized that I stopped, and now, you know, when I first started, I'd be like, man, that's ruined. But it's not. All you gotta do is heat it back up and get it to where you want it. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're more than just trying to get that arc in that curve. You can see it's overlapping and it's not exactly sitting where you want it to sit, but that's the nice part about working with a forge. Anytime you need to fix something, you stick it back in there and heat it up, and here we are again. And at this point, with it being this hot, we can tweak it a little bit with the pliers and the tongs, and then finish it up with the hammer. You know, they make all kinds of tongs too, you guys, and I'm just not there yet. I don't have the tongs to, you know, for every different project. So I do the best I can with what I got, and I don't think it's too bad here. Just kind of, you know, brushing it off, making sure it's lined up. You'll look at it, look at it, look at it again. There's always going to be some imperfections in it as you go, but that's okay. That's part of why, you know, you like having that handcrafted piece, because it's got those characteristics or character marks in it. Here we have the quench. Just drop it in real quick. That slams all those molecules back together and keeps that metal as a hard metal, so it makes good sparks for us. Doesn't take long to cool off. You can see here I can grab it with my hand. Always making sure to test it first before I just go ahead and grab it. But now all that's left is we'll clean it up on the wire wheel and on the grinder to get the exact surface that we want for making sparks, and we'll be good to go. And of course, it's not a real striker until we've actually tested it and make sure it works. So here I got some char cloth and a piece of flint, and 2 strikes and our flint is lit. So I would say that's a working striker. Guys, thanks for joining me for this video, and had fun doing it. I will say it took me about an hour to do this, but that's because I was filming and doing some other stuff. I think, you know, once I'm proficient, I can probably get to the point where I'm down around 20 minutes. So maybe even 15. So guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. And until next time, I hope you're doing well. You take care.